SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Catherine West from Visalia, California. And for many years, my husband has listened to the podcasts. And so every time I am stressed about anything, he has said, well, we need to call Save with Conrad. We ended up in a situation where we thought this would be helpful for us. So we were struggling with some credit card debt that we had. We knew that we had some equity in our house that we could possibly access to get some cash out and refinance, consolidate some of those things. And so we were able to do that with this latest refinance that we did. It saves us so much on interest and really helps us out financially. Plus, we have a little left over to be able to do a few things around the house that we wanted to. And the money that we were paying into those things, we can hopefully start saving now. In that alone, we'll save $1,400 a month. And it didn't change our house payment, maybe even like $50 less. I feel like we're far away in terms of like the United States, but I don't feel that far away from you guys. I always feel like you're a phone call away, you're an email away, and always like available to me. Diane Raver is who we worked with. And every time I needed her, I was able to reach out and contact her. And she was always getting right back to me. I felt heard. I called with real concerns. And I really just needed some help and to figure out how to make this work. I never felt like I was getting this because you just wanted business. Like I felt like you genuinely care about what I need and you heard what I needed. And then you found a way to make that happen. And so I recommend you guys wholeheartedly. I feel like you'll be honest and helpful. And feeling heard is just what every person wants to have done when it's in a situation like this. My name is Catherine West, and I saved over $1,400 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. How are you doing?
Better than I deserve. Excited to be on here with you, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Another trip around the sun for the good old JR.
That's what they say. Another trip around the sun. I had a good birthday. My youngest daughter got me a gift pack from St. Elmo's Steakhouse. That's in what, Indy? Or St.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And she got me some shrimp and my favorite cocktail sauce. You ever had their cocktail sauce?
That's your favorite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't they make it at the table?
They might.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's spicy as hell. It'll get your attention. So it was good. So I've had a nice birthday. It's low key, just what I needed. And it worked out fine. I've done the pay-per-view since I talked to you last.
How was it?
Good. You know, I called 2 matches. It's normal. And it was good. I enjoyed the experience. And it was a road trip, 12-hour day, but I rode down with to Orlando and did the show, drove back.
Hey, that's a good day right there.
Yeah, 12-hour day, but it's still, I was home in my bed and it all worked out. Little things make the difference anymore to me. So it's good. It was good. And we have an interesting topic today, I see.
Well, Sunny is our topic today, and we can't wait to get into that. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, we're rounding the bases on college football season. It's a big playoff weekend.
Yeah.
It's going to be a playoff game on Thursday and Friday on the college side of things. And then we've got 2 playoff games for the NFL on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. When you take a look at the college landscape, Jim, do you have a favorite? What do you expect to happen? We got Ohio State and Texas, and then on the other side of things, we got Penn State and Notre Dame.
Well, I can't support Texas because that's just against my DNA. I'm kind of thinking Notre Dame is my choice. We'll see, but it's like you said, though, there's a lot of great football coming up, and the cold weather coming in just in time. You stay indoors, stay warm, and watch some great football. Texas, who does Texas play?
Ohio State.
Ohio State, yeah, that'll be a good game. I don't think we've seen the best of Texas yet, but that's neither here nor there. But I do kind of leaning toward Notre Dame. I like their spirit. I like the coach. So we'll see. I'm not going to gamble on any of it, but I kind of leaning toward hanging my black hat with Notre Dame. Did you see where somebody wanted to move the game and they got turned down?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was interesting. They meaning pronoun boy, they just wanted to, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. They wanted an extra day to get ready for the game, and they were turned down. So it's like, we'll see how that works out. But I think it should be some great football. It's really some great football.
I'm looking forward to it. What's interesting this year is it feels like a lot of people can't call it. Everybody at the office yesterday was telling me they feel like Texas is going to win. I thought Ohio State is going to win. Here you are saying Notre Dame. Maybe the sleeper in all this is Penn State. I haven't heard in my real life world. I run in. I've not heard a single person pull for Penn State. Maybe they're going to pull the upset. We'll find out this week.
You never know. We will find out this week. It should be good. 4 good teams, 4 great institutions, big time programs. So it should be some fun football watching, no doubt about that. There'll be a lot of money gamble. Boy, this is a good gambling weekend if you're into that sort of thing. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I wanted to ask you too, Jim, about the wrestling business news. Of course, not only did AEW have a big pay-per-view, but WWE just made their Netflix debut. It's already the most watched thing in the history of Netflix. Did you get a chance to check it out? What'd you think?
I didn't check it. I don't have I've got to learn how to get that network.
I got you.
And I haven't, so I didn't watch it. I wasn't boycotting it. I got to figure out how to get access to it. And so, but I'm sure going forward I will. But I know I read the reviews and everybody was very high on what was going on and the great job that Triple H has done in getting his brand ready for this expansion. It's pretty amazing the access they have right now. They're going to be in a lot more homes and potentially than they ever were. So I guess that's going to be a good thing. And it's global. So it's pretty cool. I'm happy for him. Triple H has done just a tremendous job at leading his troops. And it's showing off. It's working out. So anyway, we'll see. They got no shortage of talent. They got lots of talent, doing good. Our pay-per-view in Orlando was a good show.
World's End, and as I understand it, Revolution's right around the corner. Speaking of Revolution, maybe Jeff Jarrett is trying to start his own. He had a big in-ring promo last week where it said that he has re-signed with AEW, and his new goal is to wear that AEW world title. What do you think about Double J signing his last in-ring contract and saying he wants one last ride? What do you think about Double J and his proclamation last week?
Well, it's admirable. You wouldn't think he'd want anything less than to be the number one guy. If this is his last contract, I hope he goes out with a bang. So he keeps reinventing himself, and I think that's good. That's a good thing for pro wrestling. He's an established guy, and he still can work. And so we'll see how that articulates down the field, as Vince Lombardi would, or who said that? Lombardi or Hank Stram? I think Hank Stram. Articulating down the field. So it's just a good time to be a wrestling fan because the next AEW pay-per-view is when?
March.
That's in LA, right?
Let me go to AEWTIX.com. That's where everybody can pick up all of their tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at Crypto Arena on Sunday, March 9th, 4 p.m. Pacific. The pre-sale actually began earlier this week, and the official on sale is January 13th. So circle that on your calendars, boys and girls. This coming Monday, tickets will be on sale for AEW Revolution coming to the Crypto Arena March 9th.
I haven't been in that building.
Yeah, you have. It used to be called Staples Center.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been there a lot of times. I've been there a lot of times. They changed names and all this other shit.
Sponsorships. Yeah.
So it's all good.
I'm pretty excited, as folks are listening to this, JR. Kenny Omega came back to AEW last night in Clarksville, Tennessee, of all places. But man, what a performance he had at AEW Wrestle Dynasty. It feels like he and Gabe Kidd stole the show, an already early match of the year candidate. So many people just overwhelmed with Kenny Omega and his performance. And it's kind of a reminder, I guess, that, when we had Kenny Omega before, he's running around here with undiagnosed diverticulitis and some bad injuries that he needed to go get worked on. And now it seems like we've got Kenny Omega as close to 100% as we can get. Is he going to be the sun in the solar system that is AEW, do you think?
I wouldn't doubt it. And I don't know why not. He's the best in-ring talent that now that Daniel Bryan is on the sideline, taking a sabbatical, and it may be a long-term sabbatical. Hell, I don't know, but I think he's the next in line. I would think, and getting a healthy Kenny Omega back on your roster and back on your television show is a good thing.
Hell yeah, it is.
So I think he elevates everybody else's work because nobody wants to get in the ring with Kenny and look bad, and he's going to have a good match no matter what. So. I'm glad he's back. I like Kenny. He sent me a nice text on my birthday, and he's just a good human being in my estimation. So him coming back is good timing for Tony Khan.
No doubt. It's going to be a big time opportunity to have Kenny Omega back at full speed in AEW. Of course, Jim and I are recording on Wednesday morning, so we can't really say what happened last night on AEW Dynamite, but we hope you guys will be tuning in to AEW programming and be sure to check out Jim doing what he does best. Tickets go on sale for AEW Revolution this coming Monday, the 13th at AEWTIX.com. I'm sure it's going to be one heck of a year for AEW, but speaking of important years, Jim, there was no bigger year for Jim Crockett Promotions than 1986, and perhaps no month more important than October of that year when JCP was delivered a devastating blow with Magnum TA's accident.
Yeah.
First, I sat down with David Crockett over at adfreeshows.com to discuss that. Let's have a listen.
Chest down. All right. Nothing moved. No feeling, nothing. And it was only Terry, his will and determination is why he's here today. That he did not accept that he was going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life or that he would die. The biggest thing was seeing his finger twitch. Because it wasn't supposed to. His guy's supposed to be paralyzed, from chest down. God was with him, is with him. Wow.
From the brilliant booking mind of Dusty Rhodes to the excellent penmanship of J.J. Dillon, we're going back day by day, show by show, gate by gate through Jim Crockett Jr.'s personal red books with his younger brother, David Crockett. It all happens on a series we call The Book over on adfreeshows.com. We've covered all of 1985. We're wrapping up 1986, and we're about to jump off into 1987. Catch all the episodes of the book right now over at adfreeshows.com. Our topic today, though, Jim, is Sunny. And, man, one of the more tragic tales in wrestling. She wrote a book about her life, and, of course, she's been profiled in Dark Side of the Ring, and most everyone listening to this knows what Sunny's life is like right now. But I want to talk about what it used to be like. I think you first worked with Tammy Sytch during your very short stint with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, maybe the second half of 1994. Were you keeping up with Smoky Mountain TV, or are you really just trying to drink water from a fire hose when you get there?
No, I kept up with it because Cornette's a friend, and I was always amazed at what he did with less resources to make his promotion acceptable and successful. She was a diamond in the rough. She kind of stood out in that field. And there's good old Bob Caudle and Sunny with that blonde hair.
What were your first impressions of a young Tammy when you first saw her and met her?
She had star power. She had something. She had a look and a spirit that was admirable, to say the least. So, but I was always a fan of her work. She wanted to be a heel. She was really good at projecting herself and had a lot of sex appeal in an era where, unlike today, where there's no limits on sex appeal. There's a lot of these women today have got their act down. They know what the hell they're there for, and they know what they're doing. So, but I thought she had star power written all over her.
I wanted to get your take on how you think they got into the WWF. I know they signed in early '95. We're talking about Tammy and her boyfriend at the time, Chris Candido. You're not really running talent relations yet. I think that's JJ Dillon's spot. If you had to guess, do you think this is a Jim Cornette recommendation that he wants them to come here instead of working for him? Or is it Bruce's brother, Dr. Tom, who's maybe seeing some talent there and recommending it to Bruce? Or how do you think she wound up signing with the WWF?
Well, Cornette had a lot to do with it. He endorsed her. He had groomed her. He had trained her. So, and that's generally a recipe for success. He had a great eye for talent, and she was one of his primary and more viable talents. And her being a female in that era was unique. So she just, along the way, it's one of those deals where it's too much too soon, in my opinion. She made some bad decisions that she's living through now. I saw this the other day where they had a hearing in the prison that she's in to try to get her out early. I don't know if parole's the right word. But she made a lot of bad decisions and she's very bright, but she just had she made some bad calls, and now she's paying for it.
Well, let's make some good decisions right now. The holiday season is over, but the cold weather is sticking around. But luckily, Home Chef is delivering new hearty recipes and your favorite comfort foods to help you stay cozy. I got to tell you, I'm a big believer in Home Chef. We've had a variety of different meal service delivery kits that advertised here on the program. We vet them all, and this is my favorite one. Home Chef delivers fresh ingredients and chef-designed recipes conveniently to your doorstep to really simplify your cooking experience. And users of the leading meal kits have rated Home Chef #1 in quality, convenience, taste, and recipe ease. That was a frustrating factor I've had before with some other companies. They send me these really forever long and overly complicated recipes. Man, I need it to be easy and I want it to taste good. Home Chef does it, buddy. Whether you prefer those classic meal kits with pre-portioned ingredients, quick 30-minute recipes, oven-ready options, microwave meals, or even a dedicated family menu, Home Chef truly has everything you and your family need for hassle-free, delicious dinners. Home Chef has over 30 options a week, and they serve a really big variety of dietary needs. I also want to mention that it's economical too. Check this out. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on their groceries. For a limited time right now, Home Chef is offering our listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Just go right now to homechef.com/JR. That's homechef.com/JR. You'll get 18 free meals and free dessert for life. That's homechef.com/JR. It must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert.
I really enjoy this service. It's quality. They're creative. And like you said, the simpler, the better for a guy like me. Conrad, I'm sure you share that same sentiment.
Yes.
Let's don't overthink this deal. And so they do a good job. So if you're looking for a meal service that can accommodate your diet, your nutrition, the whole 9 yards, Home Chef is the way to go. And 18 free meals, free shipping, free dessert for life if you're a subscriber. Not bad, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all. So check it out. If you like good eats, this is where you find them.
Homechef.com/JR.
Yep.
So listen, let's talk about it. I think the story of Tammy and Chris is, she was a super fan at the matches, saw this young, handsome wrestler and said, "Oh, I want him to be my boyfriend." That's how this all started. He's chasing his dream and winds up moving down to Tennessee to work with Jim Cornette. And next thing you know, she follows him. Cornette sees something in her, puts her on TV. And it's actually Tammy who winds up on WWE programming first. The newsletters were saying that Candido had signed and he's going to be coming in January of 1995. And that means the NWA is going to need to find itself a new champion. Meanwhile, the speculation is Tammy is going to come in as an on-air broadcaster, not a manager like she'd been in Smoky Mountain. Around that same time, Stephanie Wyand wound up getting the job. Charlie Min was also maybe looking for a way out. So perhaps he is going to be replaced by Stephanie, or the newsletters are thinking maybe it's actually going to be Tammy. We do see Tammy on air doing live event centers as Tamara Murphy. So before we ever saw her as Tammy Sytch or Tammy Fitch or Sunny on WWE programming, Tamara Murphy. What do you think about her as a talking head for WWE? That would have been crazy if this would have stuck, right?
Yeah, it would have. She had a lot of potential. Someone that was very green, had no really significant training. She just was a natural at it. Great gift of gab. And as you said, Conrad, she was a fan since, she was a kid. So she had some product knowledge, and sitting under the Cornette learning tree was not a bad thing. So she did amazingly well for someone that had very little training, and I think that speaks well for her attitude and her desire to be a star. And she certainly became a star without a doubt. She came along at the right place at the right time, as far as the female side of the equation. And she led the way for a lot of women today that are making big money. Somebody told me the other day that there are women in the pro wrestling business right now making 7 figures.
Oh, multiples.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Good for them. Good for them. It's came a long way since the days I was babysitting Moolah and May.
Shout out to your friend Becky Lynch, who just signed a new contract. Well, I'll say your friend. She's a great gal.
Yeah.
But shout out to Becky Lynch. I mean, signing a new contract with WWE, allegedly, according to Fightful.com. That's a big win for WWE and probably for the Rollins Lynch household, if I had to guess.
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah. She's a 7-figure person.
Yeah.
No doubt. And good for her. She is a friend. I helped get her started, and it was that wasn't a hard decision to make to cast your lot with her, because she had a great work ethic and desired to be a star. So, but I'm a big fan of Becky Lynch. she's got the attitude, the look, and all that. And I'm glad that she stopped long enough to have a baby.
Yeah.
Moms like to have babies, and so she did, and so I'm anxious to see how she does when she comes back. She didn't come back this week, did she? Or
Oh no, she's not back on the air yet. No.
so that'll be cool. That'll be cool. She's a good one. And but you go back to the roots of all this stuff, and Sunny was at the forefront of this women's movement, sexy, product knowledge in place, all that good stuff. So it's an exciting time. Women were treated like shit for so long, and I'm glad that they got a break. They meaning women, and now it seems like women are just as viable as the males. At least that's my take on it. They're fun to watch, and they're unique, and they have big personalities and a great look and all that stuff. So it's really good. It's good stuff. You know, Rhea Ripley's one of my favorite talents.
Yep.
She's a hoss, no doubt about it. A lot of sex appeal with her, and in a unique way. And so these women are able to reinvent themselves and move forward in a positive manner. And the Rhea Ripleys of the world, and the Liv Morgans of the world, and Mercedes Moné, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a big Toni Storm fan, and I'm glad that she's back on TV. I think she adds a lot to the program. She's a sweetheart of a person. So it's good to see these ladies get their just rewards for their efforts and the time put in.
Man, there's no doubt about that. I'm thankful we're talking about Sunny today, because I just think about how much the wrestling business and how much the role that women play in the wrestling business has really changed. And you talked about, you know, having to reinvent yourself with Jeff Jarrett a little earlier. Well, she has to reinvent herself very early in her WWE career. This Tamara Murphy thing does not stick. Very quickly, it's in the newsletters. Hey, they're already thinking they're going to move her off of event centers and make her a cheerleader to a babyface Candido character that he's going to debut. Of course, we know that's not exactly how this goes. February 22nd, North Charleston, South Carolina. They do a taping for both Raw and Action Zone. And the debut is described by Dave Meltzer as being a total disaster. The gimmick was they were baby faces called Chris and Tammy Spirit, with Tammy in a poorly fitting cheerleader outfit and Chris in an outfit with a cape, trying to get the fans to cheer, but of course the fans hated the gimmick. A lot of fans also booed because SMW airs on television, and they knew they were heels. Reno Riggins also landed wrong on the Frankensteiner off the top rope and injured his ribs and was stretchered out. The match won't air on television, but will be used for video packages introducing the character. What do you remember about this debut here? We know eventually the Body Donnas are going to become heels, but that wasn't the initial idea. Much like the Honky Tonk Man, he was supposed to be a baby face. It wound up working better as a heel. Do you remember them even trying the Body Donnas as a baby face?
Not really. I don't really remember that, Connie. They were natural heels, and I sometimes back in those days, you know, Vince would have an idea that he was hell bent on executing, and that was one of them. There's no way in hell that Tammy and Chris were baby faces. They weren't going to be liked. And so you're swimming upstream. That's a big mistake bookers make, is not going with the natural instincts that the audience may or may not have on a talent. So she and he was, and she was the big star of the team, and that bothered Chris, I think, at times, because he had worked all his life to build his body up and to get thick and bigger and all that stuff. You know, we got to remember he was under 6 feet tall. He had I always thought he reminded me a little bit of Dick the Bruiser, where he'd worked on his body. He got thicker. He got more muscle. He's probably enhanced to some degree. But but she was the star of the team. And sometimes it reminds me of the Mark Marrow Sable thing.
Yeah.
It's just she was a star of the she was steering the ship, and did a hell of a job in that respect. I think she made life miserable for Chris more often than not. At least it seems that way to me. And he wore his feelings on his sleeve and all that good shit. So, but she was a star of the duo without a doubt. I thought it was a good thing when they put Chris and Tom Pritchard together. Tom's a very underrated worker, great trainer, one of the best trainers in the business ever, still is. But she was just she was a star in waiting. It was just a matter of how she was going to get there. And I think that I don't know. It was awkward. It was awkward, much like my description of her right now is awkward. It was awkward. Simple as that. They seemed to not get along. She was very loyal to Chris at times. She had her dalliances, and that never. And some guys in the locker room were upset with that because one of the boys was getting cheated on, and but I don't know. I'm not blaming her. I guess just normal reaction, I guess. But she was a little rough on Chris, and his feelings were hurt more often than not. It was a pain in the ass, quite frankly, how they got along and how she treated him and how that was taken by the rest of the locker room. She wasn't that popular. She might have been popular with the guy she was sleeping with, but she wasn't very popular with the boys because they were loyal to Chris. And they saw how she was treating him, and the effect that had on Chris Candido was not positive.
Well, I have to talk about as we continue telling the story of Sunny here on Grilling JR. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. GrillingJR.com is your home for all things Jim Ross. Be sure to hit subscribe and turn on that notifications bell so you won't miss us the next time we're live. The switch happens pretty quickly. You know, we only have one outing out there as a babyface and realize this ain't gonna work. So they're gonna switch it up. And Dave Meltzer actually likes the idea. He says the inspiration is Tony Little and Susan Powder. Susan Powder was an influencer, a fitness guru who had the exact same haircut as Chris Candido. If you haven't already, go through that in your Google machine, and maybe Silva in post can add a little side by side of Chris Candido and Susan Powder, because boy, they nailed it. But they want to be these sort of fitness gurus and be a little over the top and a little annoying, maybe like Tony Little, with really, really high energy. But more importantly, not be all about positive. Yell at the audience for being fat and out of shape. Channel your inner Rick Rude.
Right.
And once Dave Meltzer actually sees the vignettes, he says it's really slick. The gimmick is they insult the audience that they're fat and out of shape. I know that we saw this before with Rick Rude, but sometimes let's play the hits. Don't fix what ain't broke. It worked for Ravishing Rick Rude. It's going to work for the Body Donnas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best casting for them, or booking, if you want to call it that, being a heel. That's their deal. And, Chris was a good bump taker. He fed comebacks well. He took a good ass whipping. And then Sunny was just the cherry on the sundae, shall we say. And it's just a shame to where her life is gone. It's sad. It's really sad. She's wasted her life in many ways. I don't know that she'll ever get out of prison. Where's she in prison at, Conrad? Pennsylvania or something?
I'm not really sure. I haven't looked to put any money on her books. Hey, I do want to ask you about one of the early things that we see from Chris Candido that was any substance. It's a program he's working with Barry Horowitz, and Skip is doing push-up. He's in the middle of the match doing push-ups like he does, and Barry rolls him up and pins him. Barry is obviously a lifelong enhancement talent for WWE.
Yeah.
And this becomes a pretty cool television storyline. And I thought it really showed that, hey, Candido, this is, I don't know. I found this, as far as it being a preliminary match, way more entertaining than I expected. I was a fan of this. What do you think?
Well, it's probably one of my more memorable calls. Horowitz wins, because he hadn't won any.
Right.
He was 0 for life on TV. But it got over in that regard, and it did doing the honors for Horowitz did a lot for Candido. At least that's my take on it. It separated him. It gave him an identity. It gave him something like a cause. It created a storyline, and I think people were happy that Barry finally got a win, and they took good care of Chris in that scenario. So it worked out pretty well. It was probably when we may have backed into an angle or backed into a story, but it doesn't matter if you're going frontwards or backwards. It was just a good piece of business, and I'm shocked that we didn't follow up on it more. But I think Vince probably thought he got all out of Barry Horowitz he's going to get. Barry is a hell of a worker and a good guy, reliable, loyal, and very skilled. So that whole thing got it started off pretty good, I thought, and it was a memorable day. I got Horowitz wins chants, and saw signs in the crowd. So it seemed like the signs were making a comeback, Conrad. It seems to me like, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember back in the Attitude Era days, the signs in the crowd were a very popular thing and showed a lot of creativity on the parts of a lot of fans. So, but I'm surprised we didn't follow up on that better. But you got two preliminary guys. No matter what, that's what you got. And Chris stayed a preliminary guy until he hooked up with Tom Pritchard and their tag team, the Body Donnas, which we had to explain to the audience what a Body Donna was every week, because it just didn't make a lot of sense. So I like Tom and Chris together. They seem to have a good chemistry, and it worked out well in that respect. They were a tag team, so they're never going to get too high on the card, because Vince just didn't push tag teams to that degree, other than the Legion of Doom and a little bit of this and that. But
hey, let me ask you about that, because I wanted to ask you about the decision to lose to Barry Horowitz. Like, he loses to Barry Horowitz, and then of course immediately WWE is like, okay, now go beat him. And as the story goes in the Observer, Dave actually wrote about this in Chris's obituary, that Chris didn't want to get the win back right away. He felt like by doing that, it sort of kills the gimmick.
Yeah,
he wanted to extend it. It becomes a preliminary pay-per-view program. So his selflessness led to him having a good program and something of substance to do for both him and Barry. But I'm wondering, by programming himself in a feud with a preliminary guy, does he, in the minds of Vince, or in the mind of the fans, or in the minds of other people behind the scenes, sort of self-slot himself at a preliminary level?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. You got two preliminary guys, and that's what you're going to get. That's what you have. But they got more mileage out of that little program than most people would have dreamed of. And it helped launch Chris and Tammy to a large degree. And we saw the true side of how they could be perceived until the tag team was put together. And I think Tom was a great compliment to that act, that duo.
Well, a great compliment to your style and dress right now is Tecovas. Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots, and I want you to go find your perfect pair with Tecovas. Tecovas crafts quality Western boots for everyone, from generational ranchers and lifelong cowboys to first-time boot buyers. They were born in Texas back in 2015, and now Tecovas makes it easy for anyone to find their perfect boot. Every one of Tecovas boots are handcrafted with over 200 meticulous steps for broken-in comfort that comes right out of the box. Whether it's a long day or a big night, your Tecovas are built to last and impress. That's why Esquire loves them and says there's a reason we keep coming back to Tecovas. Have you ever wondered if you can pull a pair of boots off with your personal style? Well, you owe it to your feet to see if you can pull off a pair of Tecovas by pulling on a pair of Tecovas. Recently, I got my dad hooked up with these. I got him 2 pair for Christmas. I got him, I think it's called the Chelsea boot. It's like a dark gray, and he wears it to the office all the time. But he got his first pair of ostrich skin boots, and he loves them. And he said the exact same thing. They were comfortable right out of the box. He had always been hesitant to wear cowboy boots. I even wondered, and I asked my mom beforehand, does Dad own a single pair of cowboy boots? He does not. His feet won't fit. They're wide. They're going to be uncomfortable. They're too tight. They hurt his feet. Not Tecovas. I knew exactly what to do. I could pick a wide. I could pick the toe style. I could pick the sort of exotic skin. Actually, I asked a guy in the office I work with, hey, man, do you have any Tecovas? And he said, as a matter of fact, I have 13 pair.
Wow.
Okay, so you've got plenty of experience. What's the most comfortable skin? Oh, ostrich. I got it for my dad. He loved it. This is a real testimonial. I bought my dad 2 pair. He loves them. You're going to love yours. And they've got the best in the West guarantee. You get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. So right now, go get yourself 10% off at covas.com/grillingjr. All you got to do is sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at tecovas.com/grillingjr. That's tecovas.com/grillingjr. That's TECOVAS.com/grillingjr. See site for details. Tecovas. Point your toes west.
You bought some Tecovas too, didn't you, Connie?
Oh, yeah, I got a pair. Absolutely.
They sent me a pair. I'm sorry, very grateful, appreciative.
Sure.
So, but they make great product. You know, I was in the boot business when I had my department store in Little Westfield, Oklahoma back in the day. And we sold Tony Lamas and what's the other one?
Whatever you sold, it wasn't as good as Tecovas. Go grab yourself a pair right now at tecovas.com/grillingjr. You'll get 10% off when you sign up for texts and emails, and you're going to love the way you look in some Tecovas.
There you go.
Hey, let's talk about, that decision that Candido made. Do you think if he would have not been so selfless and not tried to help Barry out and make it a cool program and been a wrestling fan? I mean, that's what he was trying to do, is make good wrestling rather than think about himself or politically or whatever. Do you think if he would have just beat Barry once and moved on, that he could have had an opportunity to break out of that preliminary status, or was his height always going to be a limiting factor for Vince McMahon?
I think the latter, the height is going to, he has certain limitations. You know, he's probably 5'8".
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. Thick guy. So he looked good, but I think I think that's the situation in my view, is he just had a, he just had a kind heart, and he actually was doing business the right way, quite frankly. So I always admired him for that. He had a good mind for the business. It's just he had his heart broken so many times by Sunny that he lost a lot of credibility and clout in the locker room. And when you do that, it's hard to retrieve it. And that's what happened with him. I think he lost a lot of credibility in the locker room because it seemed as if he was condoning her promiscuity.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And lucky. So I just, it's just that whole story of her, of Tammy and Chris, is a sad story. We can talk about it. We can all we want, but it's never going to have a happy ending, as evidenced by her prison term right now for drinking and driving. And I think she had the guy was killed in that wreck, right? And didn't she kill somebody in her car wreck? Wasn't that the deal? I feel bad.
Yes, sir.
I just feel bad for her in that respect. Bad decisions, and she made plenty of them, and some of them she couldn't return from.
Well, we know that she does make a return to TV in early '96. They do a spot that airs on WWE programming where she's wearing a low cut top and she's shooting pool. And then we see a second spot where she's in a bubble bath, implying that she's had sex for the past hour. I don't know exactly what we're doing, but I do know that we figured out that this girl has her own star power. She's more than a talking head doing an event center. She's more than just a manager. We're going to make her a featured part of the programming.
Right.
And one of the things that perhaps led to this, and I think Dave wrote about this in Chris's obituary in 2005 in the Observer, I think Tammy is the first company paid for breast augmentation. It happened in 1995, which is what she's showing off here in early 1996. Were you involved in that process? I mean, can you just tell us what you remember about? I know that sounds silly, but that's what's been discussed, that she was the first company paid or sponsored breast augmentation.
That's probably true. That's probably true. I think, that was a Vince decision. Decisions like that, I've had the opportunity to provide enhancements for some of the women. But it didn't always happen.
What percentage do you think of the ladies who had augmentation had it paid for by WWE?
Oh, less than 50%.
Okay.
Well, she was an elite company, was Tammy, and but it enhanced her look, it enhanced her profile, shall we say, and it worked out real well for her, and it fit. I don't know that it didn't encourage her behavior. She was so influenced by other outside things that she couldn't get away from. And she, again, I use this term more often than I should in this today, but she just had Connie, she just had a propensity to make bad decisions. And, her issues, alleged issues with Shawn Michaels, and he was a top babyface, and that she was raised in a territory. So she made her way to the top babyface, and it just was unfortunate because that led to more wrong decisions. And like I said, what I was always kind of surprised about was the fact that the undertakers of the locker room, for example, were just disappointed in her conduct and how Chris responded. It just destroyed him. He loved her immensely, and he was willing to turn his head and move on, even though it was heartbreaking. So it was a tragic story, to say the very least, and she didn't do herself any favors at all in the locker room, because once somebody slept with her, more often than not, they just moved on. So she became a glorified arena rat, a beautiful one with her new boobs and all that good stuff. But she was sharp. She was really sharp. She just had personal issues that, for whatever reason, she could not control, and it was a shame.
When do you remember first hearing of problems with her and Chris? Was that almost immediate, or are we a few years in, or is it once she is pretty clearly a star?
I think when she became a star, she took the star mantle and name to as far as she could go with it, and I think she thought that she would gain a little bit of power and influence. It worked just the opposite by having an affair with with Shawn Michaels, and it's just it caused more problems for talent relations. People give her the cold shoulder. So and they made a nice couple. They look good together. So, but she was all this time she's sitting on Shawn's lap, for example, or these pictures. She was in a relationship and allegedly in love. And boy, I tell you, I told Vince this, and it's held true that the bringing all these athletic tens into the roster, into the locker room, shall we say, was going to cause problems down the road, and it did. It did. But that was one of the things that in my reign or my administration that was what it was. It's just you had to manage, and it added a new stream of problems. I remember some of the women came to me and wanted me to hire a hairdresser to travel on the road with them, and I didn't go for that either. Adding more cost was not something I wanted to do, and it just didn't go that way. So it caused new problems in the wrestling business. I can't imagine how it would be like, when I first got in the wrestling business, Connie, it was like Moolah and her group would come in once or twice a year and piss off all the boys, because if you had a 14-man roster and you brought in a tag match for the women, that means that some guys are sitting home not being booked, and it caused a lot of issues. So, but it was a whole different change. Someday we'll do an in-depth about the females in wrestling and how it's evolved. And as we mentioned earlier, my friend Becky Lynch is signing a new deal, making 7 figures. And she's made 7 figures for quite some time. It's just, who'd have thought it? I often think of Cowboy Bill Watts and how he would have managed this deal. First of all, he probably would not have gone for it. Bring them in, make their rounds, and do a loop in the territory, and then off they go. But that's not how it's ended up, and it's ended up for the better, quite frankly.
We start really leaning into the sexuality in 1996. I mean, we mentioned how we're seeing her shooting pool. A few weeks later, as we're getting ready to talk about the Royal Rumble, we're going to see a disclaimer air before the WWE programming actually starts. It's a disclaimer saying that due to the graphic nature of this show, parental discretion is advised. And we go right into that shot of Sunny in not a hot tub, but a bathtub. We also see a match between the Smoking Guns and the Body Donnas. The Smoking Guns are going to retain their title on the Royal Rumble, but we see some pretty deliberate shots of, like, when, Sunny is on the apron, it feels like the camera is right up her butt.
Right.
And there is a change in the way she is being presented.
Yeah.
And her sexuality becomes more a part of the storylines, even at WrestleMania, where the Body Donnas at WrestleMania 12 on the free-for-all are going to win the tag titles over the Godwins. But it's one of those deals where, she's going to, start giving the panty shot, sort of a modern version of what Miss Elizabeth did once at a SummerSlam. But we're definitely turning the volume up on her sexuality.
Right.
And that's not an attitude era change. This is the first quarter of 1996. Who's advocating for this behind the scenes? Is this all Vince, or is this Vince Russo, or someone else?
Well, I'm sure Russo had something to do with it, because he saw her marketability, her potential. But bottom line, washing all that away, you have one person that made it happen, and that was Vince. And really his vision was pretty much on target. It was a sign of things to come for other women, So she kind of broke the mold in that regard. And because she sure as hell was a long way from Moolah. So, and that's what Vince wanted. I told you the story before that, he wanted me to go out and hire athletic 10s. And that's not easy to do. But we had a good troop of women. Jackie Moore, I thought, had amazing sex appeal and could work and was physical and just did a hell of a job. Lisa Moretti, Ivory, another sexy woman that didn't overplay it, but she brought her game and did a good job. We had to have some of those women that could work to work with, they had to my fucking phone.
You know what? Your fucking phone is telling us that it's time to tell everybody about True Classic. I'm a big believer in True Classic. I gave this a lot over the holiday season, and maybe it's time for you to stock up on some of these New Year essentials. Man, it is cold in Alabama. We're going to get up to 8 inches where I live this week. Calm down now. They got the best-selling t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more in 3, 6, and even 9 packs at True Classic. But they got the stuff that's going to keep me warm. How about long sleeve Henleys, waffle hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers, and more? They've even got cool activewear that's moisture wicking, quick dry. It's even got odor control. You can mix and match everything with True Classic to work with your lifestyle. And it's really comfortable. We've all got our favorite pair of jeans or our favorite hoodie or our favorite t-shirt. And man, we're guys. We're going for comfort, and we'll wear them till they're damn threadbare. Well, we got to do a little better than that. True Classic makes it easy too, because when you find the right fit, something that fits you the way you like, snug in the arms and chest, just the right amount of room in the midsection, stuff guys like. We just want that all the time, right? Well, now with True Classic, you can get that. The same style, the same cut, different colors, the same color. What I know you're going to like, though, is that it's a 100% perfect fit guarantee with True Classic. They've also got easy returns. They've been trusted by more than 4 million customers. They've got over 200,000 reviews. The holidays are here, and True Classic's ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. Just go to our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/JR to save. That's trueclassic.com/JR. Please support our show and tell them we sent you, and end the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic. Also want to remind everybody this time of year, if there's more month at the end of the money, or maybe you're still working on paying off that Christmas credit card debt, you're not alone. The average family here in America is paying off that Christmas credit card debt until May. Don't do that. If you put Christmas on a credit card, let's make a New Year's resolution to start saving money right now at savewithconrad.com. How's this for starters? No house payments until April. And if you can hear my voice and you're carrying balances on your credit cards, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It really is a matter of how much. And it's not hard to figure out how I'll do it either. Listen, if you've got credit cards right now at what, 21, 28, 31%, I've seen it all. You can do better than that. Don't get stuck making the minimum payment. What's that going to take for you to pay off? Like 30 years? Why not get a better interest rate? Why not take a break from house payments? Why not lower our monthly payments by 5, 6, 7, even $800 a month and get a greater tax deduction? It sounds too good to be true, but we can do it for you right now at savewithconrad.com. Check out our most recent 5-star review. This is from Dylan in Pennsylvania. Larry was incredibly communicative and helpful throughout the entire process. Jason gave us 5 stars in Tennessee. He said he loved that we stayed in contact and helped with all the questions. How about Greg in Kansas? He left us a 5-star review. We were always checking on the details and small things. I never had to. Very personal experience. Really feel like you're part of the family, not just a number. See, that's what we're all about at savewithconrad.com. We want to ask you, where are you right now? What are your long-term goals? What are your short-term goals? Let's come up with a plan together to get you there. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, because at savewithconrad.com, we don't say no, we say not yet, but here's how. Let's get a plan with my family for your family at savewithconrad.com. So, Jim, we're talking about Sunny here, and we know we're getting a little more sexualized. Of course, the next storyline is going to be that Phineas or Pig of the Godwins, is going to become obsessed with her. And she's going to use that to their advantage for her team, the Body Donnas. But the big story comes after WrestleMania on the European tour. It's a 17-day tour.
Yeah.
And as you said, when you put these athletic 10s in this locker room, there's going to be problems. Well, you got another set of problems here because this is after WrestleMania 12. So Razor and Diesel are on their way out. They know this is their last tour. And this is directly from the Observer. Diesel and Ramon were flagrantly breaking every company rule they could in full view of everyone. There was tremendous heat on Michaels and Helmsley in particular. Apparently, there were guys who actually wanted to deck Michaels, but had to be talked out of it because of Michaels' position. It would cost them their job. Sunny left the tour early because she was ribbed to death, including someone taking a dump in her food at one point. Apparently, Chris Candido, who didn't leave early, was also being teased and harassed to death by the big boys who acted like school children. There's some sort of romantic triangle, which would be nobody's business, except when Sunny had to leave the tour. It becomes business and no longer personal. Sunny has a lot of heat since she isn't shy about giving her opinion in a business where most won't say anything except behind people's backs. Supposedly, Bret Hart was fed up with what happened, and it made him feel even more strongly than he did before the tour, even though the consensus still is he'll be coming back in about 5 months. Now, this is fascinating to me because I think we all know pieces of this story, that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash know they're leaving, so they're going to seemingly intentionally break all the rules of WWE because we're leaving. What are you going to do? Fire us? So that's a problem. And their best friend is the world champion, and that's a problem. And he's also in a love triangle with the top lady, but the other part of that triangle is the tag champion, and that's a problem. And I guess she rubs some of the guys in the clique wrong, and allegedly one of the members of the clique takes a dump in her food. What are you hearing about all this?
I think her what happened was she got somebody took a dump in her lunchbox. You know, on the road you'd get these little prepared meals because you know you couldn't, catering was not a thing. So, you know, you just had to make do with the best you could. And somebody took a dump in her food box, which we sent her home because it was just becoming unattainable. And it was unnecessary. It was one of my first challenges involved in talent relations. So I was happy to see, Kevin Nash is a good friend of mine. I've known him since his days at being a bouncer at the Cheetah Gentlemen's Club in Atlanta. So I was glad they're leaving because it was more trouble than it was worth, and we weren't drawing big money. What was being booked was not drawing. So what do we have to lose? It's eliminate some of these problems by those guys leaving, and so we did, and that's what happened. But the childish behavior, it shouldn't have ever happened, but it did, and it was a pain in the ass. And she was involved in all that shit. She would stir it up. So I think she thought that because she was allegedly sleeping with Shawn Michaels that, you know, she was bulletproof. And she wasn't. Like I said earlier on today's show, she was making mistake after mistake, and was trying to rely on her sex appeal and her personal relationship with Shawn to bail her out. And so it was just a pain in the ass. It was just one problem after another. And look, if she had left at the same time, nobody would bemoan it. It might be celebrated because she was a catalyst for a lot of problems.
We ought to talk a little bit about the Bret Hart piece of this. I don't know exactly what to read into that, if anything? Supposedly Bret Hart was fed up with what happened and it made him feel even more strongly than he did before the tour. So we know that he's going to be taking a leave of absence. He's going to come back and re-sign in October. But do you think he was frustrated with just the hijinks of a European tour like this and he's just burnt out? Is he frustrated with the clique and that seemingly Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are deliberately sort of thumbing their nose at, the rules? Or is it just this whole love triangle, maybe getting too close to home, and he's like, I don't want any part of this? What do you think it was?
I think all those reasons came into play. I really do. I think all those reasons came into play. It was unsettling. As I said earlier, a lot of the talents, the more established talents, were not pleased with her behavior and how she was treating her beloved Chris Candido. Chris is a popular guy by and large. He didn't bother anybody, but boy, he got shit on a lot by her, and a lot of the other talents just didn't agree with that. They thought it was just disrespectful. And again, she was new on the scene. She was a very attractive, sexy female, and they had not experienced that. So it was new to the business, because you go back and look at it, Connie, she was the first of her kind.
Yeah. And at this point, the most downloaded woman in the United States. I mean, we didn't start really announcing that until the third and fourth quarter of 1996, but people are already saying it's in the Observer in like May that she's the most downloaded woman in the United States. But it's also written that her coming back early was not her decision. It was a company decision. They needed someone to come back early from Europe to deliver the tapes. And it was specifically a tape of the Jake Roberts British Bulldog angle from Munich. And it was supposed to be a referee and a member of the ring crew. But at the last minute, Lisa Wolf of Human Resources for the WWE switched it to Sunny. And I guess this is because Lisa had already heard of the problems in Europe. She wanted Sunny out of the position, and maybe is trying to prevent any sort of sexual harassment stuff when this whole shit in the food shows up. I mean, here's the gist. This whole conversation, sometimes we like to frame out of deference to Chris at times with rumor and innuendo, but both Shawn and Sunny have acknowledged that they had a relationship here and that it went south during this European tour. This breakup of this love triangle between Shawn and Sunny, that breaks up and comes to an end here in Europe. And that's the reason the clique is shitting in her food and all this nonsense. But this happens just right before you take over talent relations. Are you thankful that you didn't have to deal with this? Or
oh, absolutely.
I just can't imagine that it's something anybody wants to navigate in any sort of business, not just wrestling, but hey, we're here to do our job, not manage your personal lives, right?
Correct. Absolutely. But she's flew in the face of authority, and she had less impact than she thought she had. She thought because she was sleeping with Shawn, he was the top guy, that everything was going to work out okay, and it didn't. It just the opposite. It started a domino effect of issues, and a lot of the guys didn't want to be around her. It was just terrible. So yeah, I was glad that timing was in my favor on that situation.
You've lived through a lot of this, though. I mean, the whole Dick Slater Dark Journey split, Missy Hyatt leaving John Tatum for Eddie Gilbert. Now you're seeing, and as the story goes, and we weren't there, but the way I've heard it is, there's this, I guess Candido discovers it, and now he's got to try to save face. So she breaks up with Shawn, and now Shawn is pissed and she's upset, and Candido is trying to make a show maybe to save face a little bit. And now he's going to break up with Sunny. Of course, they get back together, but you want to talk about an unwinnable position. What can Candido do here? Is there anything he can do to save face with the boys?
No, the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah.
It was not good. And she flaunted it. She flaunted it. She thought she had power, and she didn't. What she had was she alienated most of the roster. So it was just I got lucky on that deal. It started working its way out and to a better place, shall we say. But it was tough, man. It was tough. You got enough problems on a 17-day tour. Is a bitch. Really is. But it was a money-making opportunity when the territory was flat and wasn't drawing. At least the houses on that international tour were going to be decent. But, you know, I think sometimes she was just naive as to how much of a issue she was causing. And, you know, you ask a guy like The Undertaker or some of the other more established guys, they didn't like it. And they didn't like it because how she treated Chris. And bottom line is that Chris was just a good, solid worker, always reliable, always came on time, worked his ass off. And the boys knew he loved the wrestling business. But his time in the wrestling business was coming to an end. It just was sad because the WWF was his dream. He grew up in the Northeast, and he grew up a lifelong WWF fan. It was just unfortunate. And so getting rid of those problems was something I had to take care of early on as best I could.
We know the curtain call is one of the more famous Madison Square Garden shows. It happened on May 19th, 1996. The big news from that show will always be the curtain call, but it was supposed to be that the Godwins won the tag titles from the Body Donnas. When you fast forward to In Your House later that same month, you'd see the Smoking Guns beat the Godwins to become the tag champs. And the idea here is we're seeing Sunny not just be with the Body Donnas. Now she's with the Godwins. And oh no, she turned heel on the Godwins. She's actually with the Smoking Guns. So she goes from being the Body Donnas manager and she's all in on that to no, basically she's a gold digger willing to provide her services for whoever has the tag titles. I do like that as a persona and as a character. You know, she is this gold digger character and she's just going wherever the gold is. That's how you make a lady a heel, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think she gave the audience plenty of reasons to dislike her. And she did it well. She was a very good heel. That's one thing about Sunny. She was a very, very good heel. And she just took her role a little too seriously. And she shouldn't have. It just kept alienating more people and more people. The trust factor was becoming almost invisible. So one problem led to another. And her character, her integrity was compromised numerous times. So it was just tough. And it's sad because she had so much potential in that era. And she was a player. She was a big time player without a doubt. And she led the way, man. She was a special talent with special problems. And we did all we could do to try to keep the rudder in the water and all that good stuff. But it was hard, Connie. It was tough decisions for a new guy on the block, me taking JJ's place. So I saw JJ here a while back at one of the signings.
WrestleCade.
Yeah, he looked good. He's a good friend. He didn't get the best deal out of that. I think JJ was a victim of circumstance in that situation. He couldn't solve all the problems. it takes two people or two entities to solve some of these issues in pro wrestling, and it was just hard for really hard to manage it, and it's a problem that whereas you'd have problems in the old days in wrestling did not include women, and now it seemingly was all about the women because we're just getting in our toe in the water with the ladies, where Sunny was at the forefront, but Vince saw that if we can make this thing work with other women, then we're going to be better off for it because it's going to create more depth and more quality depth and something more unique. That's why I hired all the women that I could that could actually work, because they needed to be able to work with the Sunnies or the Sables and so forth. It was tough, challenging times. I'm glad that that's all been addressed in the business, and not that it's not an issue, but it's not the issue it was in the very beginning where it was new to everybody.
We should talk a little bit about what's next for Sunny. I want to talk about her feud with the now babyface Body Donnas, but before we do, I wanted to circle back to that whole most downloaded conversation, because when Meltzer was suggesting that she was the most downloaded celebrity or woman, most downloaded woman, that was it. He comes back a couple of months later and he says the story about Sunny being the most downloaded celebrity and Warrior having the #1 comic book in the world are all hype. I saw a list of the top 10 downloaded celebrities, and Sunny wasn't even on the list. Pam Anderson and Jenny McCarthy types dominate. And I guess this is the era where WWE didn't really have a website yet. They were just on AOL. And I'm curious, did AOL tell you guys that Sunny was the most downloaded? Is she the most downloaded for WWE, or is that one of those wrestling,
That's how I remember it. I don't know who initiated that data. But you hear a story often enough, it becomes true.
That's right.
And that's kind of where we were with that deal. I don't know where the story originated, but I do know that she was downloaded a lot.
Oh yeah, I did.
Well, you're like a lot of young guys in that era.
She was not alone in that, for sure.
She was one of your favorites, no doubt about it. Yeah, Roll Tide.
Hey, so the Body Donnas now have a new manager. Since Sunny has turned heel, now they're baby faces, and their new manager is not going to be Sunny. It's going to be an independent wrestler who wrestled as Jimmy Shoulders, a real life friend of Chris Candido. Jimmy's going to put on a wig and dress up in Sunny's old Body Donna gear, and he is now Cloudy. This does not last. What were we thinking here?
Nor should it have lasted. It should never have been it should never have been attempted, to be honest with you. Is weak. And it killed the Body Donna situation. It's all of a sudden, it's just thrown together. Maybe this will work. Let's throw this against the wall, see if it sticks, et cetera, et cetera. So
it feels like a rib on Chris.
Might have been. You might be right, Conrad. You might be right on that deal.
But it feels like for him to say, "Oh, let's get my buddy to do it." Now it's like he doesn't even know it's a rib. Yeah. He's doubling down on his own rib.
I know. It's sad. It just shows the naivete of and the insecurities of a pro wrestler at times.
When you really want to make it.
Yeah.
Well, after all this craziness that we talked about on this this post WrestleMania tour in Europe and all the craziness that happened in April, by July, Skip and Sunny are engaged, according to the Observer. They're 6 years into their relationship, and now they're officially engaged. That, to me, seems like that's going to lead to even more ridicule in the locker room. But they're doing an angle where you're interviewing Sunny, and she's going to call out Phineas to apologize, and she ends up slapping him, and it winds up with Phineas slopping her. And allegedly, this slop spot, which is going to go mega viral as in this era. You know, it's going to be on all the magazines and all the recap shows. This is really before the internet's blown up, but this slop spot is a big spot, and it has been talked about for a long time that some of those enemies she had in the locker room, they made sure that they contributed to the slop bucket. When did you hear that story?
After the fact, obviously. After the fact, it became public knowledge. So what you're saying is that the slop bucket was enhanced with a lot of slop.
With human slop.
Yeah, it was not good. So the whole thing was a never-ending fucking joke. It stopped me when I've had enough, and I've had enough. So it was tough, man.
Let's talk about July of 1996. We're seeing that Ron Simmons is going to be debuting as an Egyptian, and he's got Sunny with him. What do you make of this idea of pairing Sunny with Ron Simmons as Farouk?
Another attempt at sexual tension. That's all. It was the black man, the blonde woman, you know, just bullshit, old values. You know, I thought I was watching, you know, some black exploitation film. It wasn't going to work. People were just, there are some ways of judging character and integrity that don't turn the audience off. And that was so obvious as to what it was, what we were trying to achieve, wrongly, but trying to achieve that sexual tension between Ron and Sunny. It was just it was unnecessary. Didn't need to happen.
Well, what does need to happen is finding a new spot for Sunny. You know, she's still going to be working with her tag champs here, the Smoking Guns. The In Your House Mind Games show is where we see that big poster fall down, and we've seen it before, the big Sunny poster that's over the ring. Well, now it's done where it's been doctored up a little bit, and they gave her a beard and a mustache. And of course, they're saying that Owen Hart and Davey Boy did that, which I think is fun. And around that same time, we're going to try something else with Sunny. We're going to be switching away from doing Blast Off on WGN and the old Mania show. And we're going to start doing Livewire on USA, which is going to be a live program on Saturday mornings on USA, hosted by Jim Cornette and Sunny. At least that's the first episode. They'll take phone calls and faxes, and it doesn't really get a great rating, only a 1.1 on its initial outing. But that first episode felt a little scripted, a little planted, a little overly screened, some fake bickering back and forth. We're figuring it out. They continue to tinker with it a little bit, but on Superstars in this era, it's you and Mr. Perfect doing the announcing. How did you like working with Mr. Perfect on Superstars?
Oh, good. Kurt was always fun. He's a great sense of humor, had great product knowledge. He was a little ornery. He was, I think, Strongbow called him Dennis the Menace because he was a little cantankerous at times, just having fun. But I enjoyed working with Kurt. He was good. And again, you think about these guys that I work with. Most of them came into that scenario without any training, without any experience. So for them to be successful with the lack of experience that they possessed was nothing short of extraordinary, quite frankly. Kurt was a star, and I always enjoyed working with him. He always had jokes. He told stories. You know, the stuff in the commercial breaks and things like that were absolutely entertaining as hell. So I always enjoyed working with him. Like I said, he was like a big kid with a never-ending sense of adolescence, I always say, but a good guy. I enjoyed working with Kurt.
Well, I know that you enjoy working with Lumen too. If you're looking to become a Body Donna, Lumen can help you in 2025. It's the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your breath. How about that? And then it tells you what's going on with your metabolism. On the app, using your breath, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs. Then it gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even your stress management. You know, a lot of times we see online, we've got all these gurus giving us different advice and, oh, here's this diet plan and here's this workout plan. And hey, all of that is valuable information. But you need the data that's unique to you. You don't need a best practice for someone else. You need to know, hey, what's going on in my body right now? What would be best for my body right now in this moment? Lumen can help you do that. All you got to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and then you'll know what's going on with your metabolism. And then Lumen will give you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can even breathe into it before and after your workouts and your meals. So you know exactly where you are throughout the day in real time. Lumen's going to give you the tips you need to keep you on top of your health game. And your body, it really has your metabolism as sort of your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into the fuel that keeps you going. And so because of that, your metabolism is at the center of literally everything your body does, meaning optimal metabolic health has easier weight management benefits and more improved energy levels, even better fitness results, better sleep. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health with each breath. My wife loves it. Double J's using it. He's in the best shape of his life. He calls this a life hack. So if you want to stay on track with your health this holiday season, go to lumen.me/grillingjr to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/grillingjr for 15% off your purchase. Lumen makes a great gift too. And we thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring today's episode.
Great product, gives you information. Sometimes you might not want to hear what it says, you know, and I mean that in a good way, seriously. But it gives you all the information you need to manage your health. And after going through the year I went through last year with a variety of issues, there's nothing more important than our health. So Lumen's a real good checks and balance to determine what your body's telling you, what you need to know. So I'm a big fan of Lumen, and we do appreciate their support here on the show. Good sponsor. They provide a good service, and it's good for the body. It's good for the body.
Well, check it out. I think you'll be glad you did. Lumen.me/grillingjr. Let's talk about somebody else's body. We're going to be talking about Sable here. It's written in the Observer back when Dave wrote Chris Candido's obituary. He wrote this. Sable quickly shot by Sunny for a number of reasons, from larger implants to being far easier to work with. The two hated each other. Once on a TV show, Sunny noted that Sable, who looked much older in the face, was only 28 years old, and noted how wrinkled up her face was. She, of course, was not supposed to say that. And a lot of people blame the pressure of Sable being pushed for Sytch cracking. Mick Foley thought she was never the same after she lost a highly publicized televised bikini contest to Sable at the Slammy Awards that year, when Sable came out wearing next to nothing. Before Sable became the best-selling Playboy cover girl in a decade, Sytch was given a huge money offer and the company wanted her to do it. She refused, thinking that wasn't what she wanted to do, although Candido said later they regretted that decision. Sadly, not many years later, for pennies in comparison, she would get loaded and perform on the porn pro wrestling Vixen's website with the 80s wrestling babe, Missy Hyatt. You know, you were in the company for a lot of those Playboy deals.
Yeah.
With the benefit of hindsight, because I know this offer came in 96, were you an advocate at the time for her to do it? And with the benefit of hindsight, do you think she should have?
I think she should have. I think it fit her character, the sex appeal, all that stuff, all was put into place. I never really understood why she didn't want to do a Playboy. It's a great payday, excellent exposure. She looked good. Her character was built for that. At least one of the things she was built for. And so I never understood that deal. It's overthinking it. She had great sex appeal, did Sunny. And of course, Sable capitalized on her sex appeal with some big money opportunities for covers of Playboy. And I think Sunny should have done the same thing.
It's a shame. Were you a subscriber to the Wrestling Vixens website?
Nope.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with it. I know what it is, but I didn't subscribe to it.
I was gonna laugh if you figured out how to get Wrestling Vixens, but you were still struggling with Netflix because that was
gonna. That's all right. That's
right. Dave Meltzer wrote this. He said, Somas were quickly becoming the drug of choice in the company. The schedule was much tougher in those days. The rings were a lot harder. While the work rate and excitement level in the matches, for the most part, wasn't nearly as good as today, the drug culture was stronger. Candido got hooked, using the excuse that everyone was doing it and no one could survive the schedule and punishment without him. He was one of the company's hardest workers in the ring, but he was becoming a problem outside the ring. Her reputation wasn't helping him either. Her problem was that she learned wrestling under Jim Cornette and was a sponge for knowledge. Often when the TV people, who had no such background, would suggest things to her that made no sense, she'd explain why they didn't. It was one thing in a male-oriented business if Shawn Michaels or Kevin Nash, who were top stars, would do that. But another, when a 23-year-old woman who was hired to be nothing more than TNA would, well, it only made them want to push Sable more. Candido felt when she turned down the Playboy deal, they had it in for her. Cornette himself got heat because Sytch would bring up his name when explaining the ideas and why they weren't good. Eventually, everyone wanted to wash their hands of her, and Cornette was put in charge of dealing with her. And then she started missing appearances. She became the subject of locker room gossip, including the Sunny Days comment by Shawn Michaels on a live Raw to Bret Hart. In the locker room, Candido lost respect amongst the wrestlers for staying with her and was ribbed hard in particular by the Clique, who made his life a living hell. He constantly denied that there was anything to the stories, and the rumors drove him crazy. Man, what a write-up here from Dave Meltzer. A lot to unpack, as I like to say, but do you remember that being the case, that she would tell people why their idea wasn't the right idea and credit Jim Cornette, and that sort of gets him and her heat?
Yeah, I remember it. And it put a burden on Cornette, no doubt about that. And he was saddled with babysitting. And we used the word unattainable. That was certainly an unattainable situation. And it was just more maintenance, more labor, more, just not good, man. Not good at all. So, and she self-destructed, the somas and all that bullshit. I never understood that, that scenario. I never understood that piece of business. And it just shows you that the drugs got no place in the business. It just doesn't. And she fell right into the trap. And so did Chris.
Reliability became an issue.
What's that?
Reliability became an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know how I feel about reliability. It's important. Yeah. It's really important. So it was just hard. It was hard to get around all these problems and all these situations that could have very easily have been prevented if we had, if all the players involved in the discussion were willing to change, and they weren't willing to change.
I do want to ask you a little bit about, with regards to the whole Sable Sunny thing. I don't know that I ever really put that together until today. The idea that who might she be saying this is a bad idea to, or there's a better way to do this, or I don't want to do it like that, or that's stupid and here's why. If she was brought up in the business with Jim Cornette's mentality and that's what she comes in with, it makes total sense that the advocate on the other side Sable, her advocate is Vince Russo. I don't know why that never really clicked for me, but it became Russo versus Cornette spilled over and became Sable versus Sunny. That never really clicked for me. Was that evident to you back then that Russo was advocating for Sable because
Yeah.
he didn't like dealing with Sunny and hearing what Jim Cornette preferred?
Right. I think it was the rivalry between Russo and Cornette was very prominent,
Yeah.
very real, and Russo picked the right horse because Sable was a moneymaker as far as T-shirts, getting good quality TV time. That was low maintenance. That was easy to pull off. So it was bad. It was bad, and you got jealousy, egocentric behavior, and the other thing that Sable was not high maintenance at that point in time. She eventually became a little bit higher maintenance, no doubt, but it was just tough, man, because it became a personal issue. The rivalry between Russo and Cornette was built up behind the scenes, and Russo threw the lot in for Sable. She got a lot more opportunities, and they're all simple things to execute. Her deal was her body. She just had great sex appeal and a amazing look. I remember when we brought in Mark Merrow, and Sable just came as his wife to a meeting with Vince and I. And I remember when they left, Vince said, "Well, did you see who the star was of that group?" And I said, "Yeah, it's not Mark Merrow.
Right.
A nice guy, but Sable was a star, much like Sunny was the star of the Body Donnas."
I do want to ask you about, when Chris is going to come off the road. So this is an era where we're going to pull Sunny off the road. She's no longer with the Body Donnas. She had been managing Farouk, but they're going to pull that off. And now she's going to be doing Livewire. So she's going to be home and not making all the house shows. She'll be doing TV, but all the house shows, she's off now. But so is Candido. And I don't really know why Candido is off. The only thing I can guess is perhaps it's because Dr. Tom is training guys in the warehouse and we're trying to find something for him to do. I bring this up because Candido actually gives notice in October. He tries to quit, and they're going to ask him to stay to try to teach Occam Albright, Mark Henry, and some fella named Dwayne Johnson the ropes. But he feels like it's too early in my career. I'm too young for me to be out of the ring and teaching new talent. So I want to quit. I'm going to go to ECW, and I may even try to hit up All Japan. What do you remember about Chris being asked to train some guys and maybe take a step back from in-ring? How do we get there? I mean, this is a young, bright, talented guy. Is it just off the field issues? I mean, you wouldn't offer that to a trainer either. I'm really scratching my head why he was offered that opportunity. Or did Vince just not see anything in him? And is it a height thing again?
I think Vince didn't see anything in him.
Oh,
Vince saw who the star was. The star was Sunny, and she outlasted and Chris, and a nice picture there of those two. I think hopefully people will start watching YouTube. Our YouTube channel's pretty cool.
grillingjr.com, Daddy.
Yeah, that's it. But she had man problems. I think she was just like a little lost sheep, and she was very influenced. And at the end of the day, the person that got the biggest load of shit, other than her lunchbox, was Chris. Chris he had his dream job, and thanks to her and her conduct, Chris's credibility went to hell. And a lot of the guys on the roster, as we mentioned, couldn't understand why he was so tolerant. And I don't know if he really was that tolerant. He just was he was so deeply in love with her that he was willing to sacrifice. And it was just a bad scene, Connie. Just a bad scene. Nobody was winning on this argument.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about, she's going to get a new contract when she comes off the road. She's no longer being paid on the houses and anything like that. So she gets a new guaranteed money office contract. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we're trying to make sure she's secure. So when we pull him off the road and wear his ass out, and we know he doesn't want to be a trainer. If he wants to leave, that's fine, but we need to keep her secure. She needs to stay here, right? Like,
yeah.
Although originally we decided we wanted them both, and maybe this all started with we wanted him. We need to keep her around, but he can go. I do find it interesting though that had he hung around, he would have had an opportunity to work with Mark Henry and The Rock. Like, that could have been interesting. I'm not saying it would have gone anywhere, but I just do wonder how his life may have been a little different had he not left. But we know he's going to go to ECW. We're a few months away from that. But before we get there, Sunny's going to be on MTV Singled Out, which is an MTV dating show. Yes, it's a gimmick show, but a lot of people were watching it back then. So good for her.
Right.
One of the things that we're going to see her do next, though, is become a host of Shotgun Saturday Night, and she's going to be working alongside Vince McMahon. What did you think about her and Vince as a commentary duo?
It worried me because she was very influenced, and now she's worked her way up from having her alleged dalliances with Shawn to sitting next to the head honcho, the most powerful man in the wrestling business.
Oh.
And I didn't know where all that was going to go. Because I knew that she would play the game. There you go. That's a good example right there. There's her new boobs. Boob A and Boob B.
I think that's from Survivor Series. That's what a Sunny fan I was. I remember that outfit.
And Vince had that twinkle in his eye. God bless him. So, you hear anything about Vince? He's you and I talked about this once before, that maybe in 2025 he's going to make some sort of return to his chosen profession, or is he? Or does he need it? He don't need it financially, but I don't know. It's a never-ending story, Conrad. It's a never-ending story of.
He's bought a studio. He's building a roster. We'll see.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll see. I do want to ask you, when Candido goes to quit, is this an era where I think by this time you would have been, are you running talent relations then or not quite yet? Okay.
Yeah.
So when he comes,
just getting started, just getting started.
One of the things that has been speculated, and maybe this is accurate, maybe it's not, but it's been said that one of the issues was Shawn didn't like that Candido would do certain moves in his preliminary matches. He's a more cruiserweight style performer, of course. So he's going to do some more flashy off the top rope, Frankensteiner, plancha type stuff. And I guess Shawn felt like, hey, I'm the main event. That's my bag. You can't be doing that. That doesn't feel like a complaint that's out of left field, but do you think Shawn ever took that too far with, geez, nobody can do anything? I bring this up because we heard him this same calendar year take issue with working with Vader. Now, he's not having an issue with working with Candido, but he doesn't like that Candido does this move or that move. Was Candido out of line? Did Shawn have a fair point, or was Shawn just being a horse's ass?
Well, a little of both. A little of both, quite frankly. But I understand Shawn's dilemma. He had a style. He was undersized. He was a top guy in the territory. When I booked him with Vader, I always felt like that was could be some magical stuff, because Shawn's lack of size, Vader's was 400 pounds, well north of 300, closer to 400. I'm surmising. So I I don't know, man. I think that Sean had a bitch, because you got to protect your top guy.
Yeah.
That's like back in the day with Mid-South, where you didn't have too many guys using a power slam as a finish other than the dog. That's how Cowboy wanted it, and that's how it went. But you have to protect the top guy, no doubt in my mind. So Sean just had a attitudinal propensity to play a kind of a stiff game. And Sean had Vince's ear. Vince told me one time that Sean reminded Vince of himself, a young Vince. And I think there's something to be said about that. Attitudinal, lived on the edge, and but Sean was at one point in time during this era was as good a worker as there was in the business.
You talked about stiff. If you're looking to get stiff, can I recommend Blue Chew? Have some better sex with Blue Chew, won't you? Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, longer lasting erections for sexual activities. Blue Chew is putting its money where its mouth is too. They're offering you a month free. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night. So plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free. That's right. Try your first month of Blue Chew free. Just visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast.
Been with us since day one, Connie, and it, I learned about Blue Chew from you.
Yeah.
You rascal, you. So I got a good stash of Blue Chew. It's like my daddy would tell me, you got lead in your pencil, but nobody to write to. So I like that analogy. But Blue Chew's, they've been loyal to us. That works. People understand how it works and why it works, and it's affordable. The one thing that I like about Blue Chew is that their customer service is impeccable. You place your order, you're gonna get your order on a very timely basis, and I just have a lot of gratitude for the folks at Blue Chew and how they sponsor our show and how they help us survive from a business standpoint. We know why it works. We know how it works. We know the results you get, but it's a hell of a thing. And I notice watching a lot of TV here lately, there's a lot of products like Blue Chew on the market. But to me, I don't stray too far from the corral. It works. It's all I need to know. It works, and it's affordable. And like right now, first month free. Can't be free. If it's free, it's for me, and it's a hell of a good deal.
Go hit it up, bluechew.com. Try your first month free. Pay the $5 shipping, bluechew.com.
Yep.
Hey, so let's talk about Saturday night. It's a shotgun Saturday night, and very quickly we realize, hey, this show is going to suck. But first, let's try some things before we give up on it. One of the things we saw is Sunny, the most downloaded woman in WWE, promoting that next week here on the program, I'm going to show my very own sex tape. This, of course, is all the rage because in this era, people are talking about the Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape leak, and these celebrity sex tape leaks are going to become more of a thing. And so we're going to try to mirror that with our pop culture programming on WWE. And what we come up with The hottest Christmas gift for Christmas of 1996, and it wasn't even close. The one that parents could not find, they'd pay thousands of dollars for, was a doll called Tickle Me Elmo. And so now we're going to recreate a sex tape with Sunny and Elmo's big brother, Fondle Me Elmo. That's Chris Candido dressed up like Elmo, taking off Sunny's pajama bottoms, and Elmo taking off his bikini briefs. This is a real thing. What the fuck are we doing, Jim?
We're exploring Vince's imagination. You know, he's the catalyst behind this stuff. He wanted to add some sex appeal. Raw was R-rated, and one thing that goes along with the R rating is sex, and that's kind of where we found ourselves. It got to, and a lot of the boys, again, to pile the heat on Sunny, that was easy to do, and it was happening. She was getting TV time, and a lot of the boys are sitting in the back and catering, waiting for their turn to be called. And so it just piled more heat on her, which is what she didn't need. But in any event, that's where we found ourselves. Too much sex. You probably never hear me say that again, but there's just too much sex on a pro wrestling show.
I want to mention that it's not actually Chris Candido in the outfit. It's actually Todd Pettingill. But our buddy Jim Cornette, he does a fabulous podcast. And a couple of years ago, when he was going through his files, he actually found a letter that Todd Pettingill sent to Kevin Dunn at some point after this skit was shot, which Dunn then sent to Talent Relations, which Corny was copied on. So here's the letter that Cornette found, the contents of that letter. This is written by Todd Pettingill to Kevin Dunn. I just wanted to inform you of a few situations as they pertain to Sunny and myself. I was asked by Vince through you if I would mind giving Sunny a ride every Saturday from New Jersey to Shotgun. I was unwilling to help out in that situation, and this is why. I don't trust her. I do not want to be alone with her. I feel she thinks her star is rising, and there isn't anyone she won't make up a story about to get where she wants to be. I feel I have always been a team player, and I wanted to express my reasons for saying no to this request. Sunny tends to be overly flirtatious, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable. Secondly, I wanted to express what I thought was inappropriate behavior on her part. When I did a shoot for Shotgun at my residence in New Jersey in January, when I played the part of Elmo, Vince called us on his way up to my residence to explain what he wanted from us, and Sunny went ballistic. After Vince hung up, of course, she was ranting and raving about how she was going to bury you. She was going to find a way to make sure you suffered. There were several people around during the shoot, and she said these things directly to me. She then locked herself in my bathroom with her boyfriend, and they commiserated for 15 minutes before reappearing. I just wanted to officially make you aware of these situations. Thank you for your time. Of course, the implication there is it suggested that Chris and Sunny did drugs in his bathroom, and she's apparently not too happy about what was asked of her in this Tickle Me Elmo thing. Do you remember hearing that Todd was uncomfortable with this, and was this the way everybody felt about it?
Well, he's a happily married guy. He had a family, and the bottom line was he just didn't trust her. So, and I can understand that.
Did you trust her?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. She was desperate. She had a little taste of stardom, and she wanted more. And however whatever she needed to do to achieve more is what she was willing to do.
We see her get sent down to the USWA. She does commentary with Lance Russell there and has a little fun in February. The next week, she's in Philadelphia or at Queens, New York, rather. And then the ECW Arena, back-to-back nights for a big weekend. CyberSlam 97. One of the matches, the last match on the show, actually, at the Arena, the main event, is Sabu and Chris Candido. And the crowd is really, really hot for this. Sunny's watching from what they used to call the crow's nest, the stage there. And there's a fan that's heckling Candido pretty hard. And Sunny starts screaming at the fan. And she's screaming so loud that it takes away all the attention from the match. And now everyone is looking at Sunny. So the momentum of what's happening in the ring is totally ruined. Does a report like that get back to the office? I mean, I know you guys have a great relationship with Paul. Yeah. Is Paul sharing that, or does it come through another way, or do you not hear about it at all?
People were they were rushing to tell the story. We got the information. Put Paul in a tough spot. We like working with Paul, and supportive of ECW. But she made sure that she got the star treatment. She made sure that she got the spotlight. She took away from the wrestling match. Another reason that a lot of the male talents in our locker room, and probably ECW's locker room as well, had such resentment toward her. Just unnecessary. It's bullshit. Waste of time. And if she loved the business as much as she espoused that she did, then she wouldn't do that. She would keep the priorities where they belong. And it was just another log in the fire, man. And she loved to stroke the fire, among other things.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, we've been trying to just find something, literally anything for Sunny to do. I mean, we tried her as a talking head doing the live event center. We tried her as a babyface manager. We tried her as a fitness guru, heel, evil manager. We tried her as a gold digger manager.
Yeah.
We tried her as the Livewire host. We've tried her as the Shotgun Saturday Night commentary person. Now we're going to be doing Sunny Under the Covers. It's a new gossip segment that only lasts a few weeks, but it's on Shotgun and not on Superstars, where she's trying to do something. It only lasts a few weeks and then it goes away. And then it's, before you know it, WrestleMania is here. It's March and it's time for WrestleMania 13. Of course, at WrestleMania 12 on the free-for-all, her team, the Body Donnas, won the tag titles.
Right.
Well, the night before WrestleMania 12 here, we're going to do the Slammies. It does a 1.5 rating. That's at like 11 o'clock at night. So it's a late night show on the USWA or USA Network rather. But one of the things that we're going to do here is this bikini contest. And this is the one that Foley says that he doesn't believe she ever recovered from, she being Sunny. Meltzer would even say the show seemed to leave two messages, making it clear Undertaker was winning the title and pushing Sable ahead of Sunny as the woman they're giving the big promotional push to. Absolutely tackiest comment goes to Helmsley for his remark about Sunny, saying she's only good for one thing, and his best friend tells him she's not even very good at that. You can imagine right now it wouldn't be a wise idea to invite Helmsley and Candido to the same dinner table. It's one thing to be a high schooler and say things like that to your friends, but it's quite another to say it on national television.
Right.
This is out of line by Triple H. Goodness gracious. I know he's trying to be entertaining, but there's real people involved here. When you hear this, do you know, shit, I got a lot of talent relations work to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I was disappointed. This caused another problem. You go back to several, you just went through a litany of Sunny personas. She was giving ample, maybe more than ample opportunities to find her place. And we kept trying, and she kept self-destructing. So it was just, it was sad how it was all working out. Much like today. She's in a prison cell.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It really is sad.
It's an awful deal to think about what her life became and how quickly it spiraled. And I can't help but think about from just a company talent relation standpoint. I mean, here we are in the same calendar year, well, not calendar year, but in the same 12 months rather.
Yeah.
Lisa Wolf is trying to avoid some sort of potential lawsuit about your champion having relations with someone on tour and then someone defecating in her food because of that relationship with the champion. And this could be a PR nightmare. It could be a litigious situation.
Yeah.
Lisa Wolf navigates it. And before the year's up, now we've got Triple H saying that into a microphone. It's like, damn nation. We're lucky we didn't get all kinds of sued on this deal.
Yeah. Well, we always are running from a lawsuit involving her.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, you're going to say, what the fuck? Why are we tolerating this? Why are we continuing to absorb all these hits? Because inevitably, at some point in time, there's going to be something's going to go to court. And we kept dodging that bullet, ducking and darting and hiding. And it became where it's not worth it.
That all happens in March. In May, her niece, her 16-year-old niece, passes away in a car accident. She's going to miss some shots. Later in May, that's when Shawn hits Bret with the sunny days comment.
Unnecessary. Should have ever happened.
That same episode where we're doing, or that same week rather, because that's a Monday Night Raw where that's said, the Shotgun Saturday Night from the weekend prior, Sonny's going to be doing a segment, it's taped, of course, with Mankind, and says, I won't bite. And Brian Pillman came back on commentary and says, she won't bite, but she certainly will swallow. And you quickly threw the line in, her pride. Like, you guys are just flirting with the line here at times in 1997.
I'm just trying to bet our ass out.
Oh, I know you are, for sure.
If Brian going into the business for himself is just Brian being Brian. But, again, we skirted around every lawsuit that there was. And she had the opportunity to let that manifest itself. And it was hard. It was hard to almost daily, to avoid the inevitable.
It's going to be a big situation that just continues to get worse and worse. I mean, not only have we sort of ruined Chris Candido's WWE experience, but now we're trying to ruin Bret Hart's home life with these lines from Shawn. Shawn showed up in no condition to perform that day in Mobile, Alabama. That's the May 19th Raw. It's actually written in the torch. There was legitimate fear backstage that Michaels might collapse on camera. He felt bad. He looked bad. What do you remember about this whole sunny days comment and the fallout thereafter?
Well, again, it was just a pain in the ass, Conrad. God damn it. It should never have been said. It didn't put any asses in seats. The goal is to put an ass every 18 inches in an arena. We weren't going to do that. It's too insider. It affected Bret's home life. And, I look at that crew in the ring right there. If you're on the other side of that argument, I don't like your chances, because there's some bad hombres in the ring right there. And Bret was the leader, and bringing his home life or inferring his home life was affected by their relationship was just unnecessary. Can't give any reason why we would have done it. And so I felt bad for Bret on that situation. I really did.
I feel bad for Sunny. We've always talked about how, life gets harder for Bret when he goes home, but we've never really spent any time talking about how Sunny felt. I mean, here she was just a couple of weeks prior to this, or 2 months prior to this, maybe. And we're seeing her be called out by Triple H on USA on national television. And now it's happening again here, this time by Shawn. Man, she's got a real life relationship at home. And this thing almost came apart on her before. I don't know what she is or isn't doing here, but if we suspect that she's having some substance issues, And she's also, every time she turns on the TV, somebody's saying shit about her. And now she's got to go to work there. And she's got to keep the husband home, happy at home. This is a tough deal. And in the middle of all this, oh yeah, your 16-year-old niece just died in a car accident. Like, is this just a perfect storm? I'm not trying to excuse her substance abuse, but when you add all of that together, I could see how somebody would say, I need to find a way out of here. I just don't want to have to think about all this.
Yeah, she needed to go.
Yeah.
She needed to go. And it was a career wasted. What she could have been, what she should have been, it just was a waste of time. And I've always felt bad about that situation. Her bad decisions that she made were irretrievable. And the locker room was not a happy place. And that's one of the jobs of the talent relations guy like me in that position, is to try to create some harmony, create a team effort. We had a lot of guys that were wanting to play that game, a team effort. And then we had a few influencers like Sean that continued to fuel the fire. It just wasn't good.
She's going to start making some media appearances. She gets herself in a little bit of trouble. She's the WWF ambassador. We're trying to find a way to keep her doing something. And Tom Knoll is the host of the Wrestling Power public access show in Virginia. And Sunny's there in Richmond doing radio and public appearances. And she's going to go after Sable, after the host Big Al Coleman asked about Sable. Sunny says something to the effect of, she's got no charisma, she can't talk or manage, she's Mrs. Anti-Personality, and no one in the WWF likes her. Al then commented that she never removed her sunglasses during the appearance, and Sunny said, that's so you can't look into her eyes and see what an empty head she's got. She went on to say that Sable only had her job due to saline, and she ran down the card for Richmond. She's trying to promote a live event about 2 weeks after this, and tells everyone, go get your popcorn during Mark Merrow's match. Which I just, wow. I mean, this is something that when the reports get back to the WWF, Jim Cornette has to fire off a response. Actually, no, you do. Jim Cornette found the letter that you sent to her, which I thought was pretty fascinating. What do you remember about this interview? And is this sort of the straw that broke the camel's back for you, to go in public and just shit on the company and undermine it like this?
Yeah, it was too much.
Yeah.
Unforgivable. You know, you don't have that much influence, Sonny. And it's just not good. You can't make anything good out of it. It's just a shit, man. And we all were getting fed up. And we all could see it was looking like a wasted opportunity, that she was not going to have she wasn't going to have a happy ending. And that's obviously what we've seen happen.
You wrote at the time, when you're trying to hit Tammy up about what's happened with this media interview, the enclosed AOL posting was faxed to me Sunday, November 15th, 1997. I spoke with our market rep who verified this information regarding your comments about Sable to be accurate to the best of his knowledge. After our discussion in Cornwall at TV on November 11th, I thought you understood what the company expects of you in this Goodwill Ambassador role, and that I specifically instructed you not to communicate your personal feelings regarding Sable to the media or the public. I'm very disappointed this occurred after our discussion. We'll be in touch with you soon to discuss this matter in your future in the WWF. I like the way you leave it hanging there. You know, that's some stern administrator talk. She responds with a 3-page response. is this all you just handling it, or do you consult with Vince before you send off a letter like this, or when do you have to involve Vince in these sort of situations?
All throughout the process. Yeah, throughout the process. Because I knew Vince was high on her. I also knew Vince had a great eye for talent, and she was talent. But at some point in time, how much barbecue sauce can a redneck Okie eat?
Right.
Just, we're all getting tired of it. And I think Vince got tired of it because, we kept dodging these lawsuit bullets. And she was just trying to get herself over. Be controversial. Get yourself over. Bullshit. Sell tickets. Create an awareness for the live event. That's what you're there for. And just be there to put everybody over and give the fans of Richmond, in this case, a solid reason to buy a ticket and come see our event.
Well, we had a solid reason to stay tuned because we knew this thing was getting off the tracks. She's making lots of different appearances. She doesn't have a real official role. She's refereeing or introducing matches. But she's always in the news, and she's in the news again come February. Or I guess let's back that up. In December, she's doing some interviews and saying some comments publicly like, hey, the company made a mistake getting rid of Bret Hart. Of course, he's gone after the Montreal screw job. And that the company would be much better and the wrestling would be much better if they get rid of every wrestler who weighs more than 300 pounds. So she's just being sort of out front, not necessarily pushing the company line, but just sharing her feelings. And those feelings get her ass whooped.
We didn't, sorry, Connie. We didn't give a fuck about her feelings.
No.
Come on.
Yes.
You're assigned to do this job. We don't give a shit about your feelings, personal feelings. We want you to sell tickets, create awareness for the live event. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. And, but she couldn't help herself but to make everything about her. And you're a messenger. You're not the star. You're not booked. You're not wrestling. You're not doing anything but selling tickets, hopefully, on your media days. So, but she just could get past herself. It was the shits, man.
It happens with Luna in February 1998. They're doing a taping of Monday Night Raw, and they get into a scuffle, not a storyline scuffle. Luna is supposed to be a mild-mannered person, but boy, she gets pretty hot and bothered at Sunny, throws her gear out of the locker room in a rage, and then nails her 4 or 5 times before people backstage interfere and break up the fight. Of course, Sunny is not the most popular person in the locker room, especially amongst the women, but she's been throwing jabs Luna's way for several weeks, and Luna finally has had enough. What do you remember of this whole Luna Sunny dust up? The physical.
I remember that Sunny was lucky that she didn't get killed. If Luna had wanted to maim Sunny, she could do it very easily. Again, Sunny making it about Sunny. Of all the females in the locker room, the last one you want to fuck with is Luna. She was physical, unintimidatable. And I always got along with Luna well because I never raised my voice. I always communicated with her on the up and up. She was one of the boys. But at some point in time, you just, enough is enough. When is enough in this fucking business?
Right.
I don't get it. Sunny got more second chances than anybody that I recall ever in the company because we kept trying to get her to turn the corner, get refocused, and be the product that we thought she could be. It never happened.
It's a shame that it never happened. We know that the problems continue. We know that she's going to no-show the NWA. They had been promoting her for doing a arm wrestling match against Marlena. She no-shows, because she instead goes to watch Chris Candido wrestle at the ECW arena 25 minutes later. And that is a problem because she was booked through the WWE and she didn't give the WWE notice. She didn't give the promoter, Dennis Carluzzo, notice. Of course, Dennis is in a little bit of a feud with Paul Heyman. So that just makes it all worse. The idea that everybody who even advocates for her winds up in the middle, like Jim Cornette, the guy who helped get her started, when she no shows to go to the ECW show, she gives notice to Cornette that she's not going to show, but not the official office channel that she's supposed to, not the actual promoter. But we still continue to try to make it work. And the latest and greatest idea is going to be to put her with the Legion of Doom. We're going to call them the LOD 2000. We're going to change their look. We're going to debut.
Big joke.
Yeah, did not work.
No, shit, no. They didn't come close to working.
No.
Do you think Hawk and Animal wanted her with them after her reputation got out? Hell no. So
I mean, the end of March is when they're put together, and by mid-May, they're no longer doing much with her.
No. Well, at some point in time, Conrad, it's like dealing with your kids. You can love them, you can encourage them, but at some point in time, the kids have got to do something for themselves. They got to be responsible. They got to show a little bit of character. And she had proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that she didn't have any character. She was all for her. And I am shocked that we kept her around as long as we did.
She shows up 6 hours late to a TV taping in Rockford, Illinois on June 2nd. And she's in the doghouse, of course. So she manages later, 3 weeks later, to miss an autograph session, just no shows. Ridgewood, New York on June 21st. It's a full-blown spiral here in the summer of 98 to the point where by the end of June, they're going to bring in Paul Ellering to manage the LOD. And it's written here in the torch. Sunny was given a choice to go to counseling or be fired. She chose treatment. And it's written in the Observer. On June 26th, due to her no-shows at autograph sessions and erratic behavior over the last month or two, Sony was given an ultimatum by the company to either attend a counseling program or rehab, I'm not sure which, or get terminated. And she accepted the counseling program and won't be back until completing it, whatever they mandated for her. Apparently, Sony is also having a difficult time dealing with Sable having shot past her being stuck with LOD, which she feels like is personal quicksand for her career. I can't imagine in any era a manager saying, oh man, if you put me with the LOD, I'm dead. I mean, what? You manage the fucking Body Donnas and the Godwins and the Smoking Guns and Farouk in a blue silly helmet. What are we talking about? The LOD? What?
It's all about her, man.
That's crazy.
It's all about, at some point you just kept, I kept waiting for that one call from Vince, or can you come over to my office for a second? I need to talk to you. And we got rid of her. I was hoping that would happen sooner than later. But she kept getting chance after chance. My God, you ran through a list of personas. Look at all the opportunities she got. She got more opportunities than anybody else I could think of off the top of my head.
She winds up being given an ultimatum, we mentioned, on June 26th to, you got to go to treatment. And she says she does. But when she goes for treatment, this is according to the Observer, she claimed to not have a problem, didn't undergo the actual treatment, and never responded to the company's attempts to reach her. The WWF agreed she can work elsewhere, provided she doesn't use the name Sunny or do anything which would cause confusion as to the character Sunny, whatever that's supposed to be. So she's full-time in ECW. She's working on helping promoting the shows, doing ticket on sales, and representing ECW trade show conventions and public appearances. And the WWF owns the rights to the name Sunny. So she's going to go by Tammy Lynn. WCW has apparently been very interested in her for a long time, but never made an approach out of fear of a potential tampering deal. But yeah, she's going to be with ECW, and that's it for her in the WWF. We know that she has a cup of coffee in WCW, and life sort of spirals from there after they're released from WCW. There's a pretty sad segment that airs on ECW TV, and we know for years and years, man, she just struggled with her alcohol addiction, in and out of jail, and unfortunately in and out of prison. But now with the DUI manslaughter case, it's been revealed that, or her defense, I guess, is saying that she has bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder that has long gone undiagnosed. And now she's suffering from PTSD. And listen, mental health is a real thing. And if she was struggling with this and it was undiagnosed and she was choosing to self-medicate, it's not like her life has been all peaches. And I hate that we have painted her as a villain here for this entire episode.
But she was, Conrad. God damn it. Because she's a beautiful woman. We're supposed to give her a break. She got break after break after break. She brought a lot of this shit on herself. I remember her offering, she wanted to move in with me in Oklahoma at one time.
What?
Yeah. I said, hell. I said, no.
Wait. How does that happen? What is this after Jan, I assume?
Oh yeah.
So wait, she just calls you up and says, "Let me come live with you, Big Daddy."
Yeah, I'm a good girlfriend. I can cook. I'll take care of you in the bedroom. Blah blah blah, and you can, we can have a great time. And I thought about it for like 10 seconds. No way in hell. I mean, I might be naive and lonely and heartbroken, but God damn it. I already been down that road. I already saw what she was all about. And I wasn't going to bring myself into the dramatic aspect of my life. And I'm sure as fuck glad I didn't do it. A piece of ass, but what the hell? It ain't worth the trouble.
My gosh.
I dodged the bullet there, I can promise you.
Boy, I don't know another way to ask this. I can't imagine I ever thought I would ever ask this on the program.
Go ahead. You're dying to ask me.
I mean, was this an offer out of left field, or did you have experience with Sunny in the past?
No, left field. I never had sex with her. I never had sex with her or nothing.
It just feels like such a random, hey, I'm a good girlfriend, just out of nowhere. Wow.
I can cook for you. I'll keep your house clean. I'll make you happy in the bedroom, blah, blah, blah. And I was never motivated to make that call. It's not good. So we said adios to that idea. It never happened.
Do you think, and I'm asking this genuinely, do you think there's perhaps a lot of wrestlers who have undiagnosed bipolar disorder?
Yeah.
Because Tammy got this diagnosis late in life. So did Chris Kanyon. I think Dave Meltzer has said similar things about Brian Pillman and Eddie Guerrero. Do you think that pro wrestling lends itself to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Insecurities run rampant. It's such a subjective business where the cowboy told me one time, the most powerful weapon in wrestling was the eraser. And that's what everybody runs from, the eraser, becoming unbooked or taken out of a top slot. So the eraser is the name of the game. And guys are just paranoid and all that shit. It's horrible. I think different eras. The era that I got in the business in '74 was guys are a little bit more independent. They're mature. They were raised differently. They weren't a party to a life of where they're worried about the royalty check and things of that nature. It's just a terrible scenario. Paranoia. What's that? Jefferson Starship.
Oh yeah.
Paranoia runs deep. Deep in my heart, it will seep. So
Sean Waltman and others have said they had pretty major breakthroughs in battling their addictions when the WWE placed them in a dual diagnosis rehab facility where the focus is on diagnosing and treating the underlying mental illness that helps fuel the addiction. So for Sean and Scott Hall, for example, it was PTSD. And even Jeff Jarrett has said that he was diagnosed with PTSD and that rehab was a significant step for him as well. I can't help but wonder if Tammy had been somewhere that had more of a focus on her underlying mental health issue sooner. Could she have gotten her act together? Could we have saved a life? I just want to remind everybody, if you know someone who's struggling with this, or you yourself are struggling with addiction, because I never even really considered that, hey, wow, this may have been an undiagnosed mental illness issue this entire time. And I think sometimes when we don't have all the information and we're just looking from the outside in, we make assumptions and we say, oh, it must be this or it must be that. And I hope if you're listening to this and you're struggling with addiction, maybe try this. Maybe there is an underlying mental illness issue that you need to address.
There's help out there for you if you have the balls to fucking seek it.
Yes.
And humble yourself around your family and friends that, hey, I have a problem and I need help. There's help available. It's a major business globally. I'll tell you what's going to be interesting. You got this great run where wrestlers are making amazing amounts of money. And you wonder how many of them are paying their taxes or saving some cash and developing some their own retirement plan. Because what's going to happen is that when the money runs out and they look around at their bank account and they don't have saved what they should have had saved, you're going to see some horrible reactions. Because, I remember one time, Conrad, I think it was 21 guys, or some 19 or 20, somewhere around the 20 mark, of people that made 7 figures plus in WWE. And just shocking. And I saw the demise of some characters who made a lot of money and they spent the shit out of it. They didn't save for the future. They're not prepared for it. So I always try to encourage guys, get yourself a financial planner, man. Pay your taxes and make this thing work. But it's hard. It's really hard. And we're going to see more of that at some point in time.
Well, we're going to see more Grilling JR this time next week. Hope you'll make plans to join us at grillingjr.com. Want to mention also that you can be a part of our live studio audience if you join us at adfreeshows.com and hear some of these bombs dropped live, like Lindsay did, and Coach Rosie did, and Coach Keith did, and Denovius did. Thank you guys for hanging out and being part of our live studio audience today. Shout out to you, Kelly Cox, and everybody who was hanging out today. Next week, we'll be back talking about New Year's Revolution 20 years ago. We're going to talk about the infamous time in history with the Elimination Chamber main event between Triple H, Edge, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Batista, and Randy Orton for the vacant WWE title. We'll also be talking about Brock Lesnar heading over to New Japan. But in the meantime, if you haven't already, make plans to join JR live in LA, March 9th. Tickets go on sale this coming Monday. They're on sale at AEWTIX.com. A lot of fun dynamites coming our way too. Clarksville, Knoxville, Huntsville, Athens, Atlanta. I'm going to be making all the AEW towns. So we'll see you down the road, boys and girls. But before you get out of here and you're getting ready for your big football weekend, can I recommend you get stocked up? You know what I'm talking about. When I think of football, I think about barbecue. I think about JR'sBBQ.com. They got 2 types of sauce. They got your all-purpose seasoning, which is a go-to in my household. They've even got JR's Red Ass Hot Sauce. There's something for everybody, even autograph swag. So what are you waiting for? Go right now, JR'sBBQ.com.
It costs nothing to shop. It costs nothing to look. And hopefully you guys have got some sauce left from the holidays. And we appreciate your business immensely. So thank you very much for that. Conrad, you did a hell of a job navigating this sad but true story of a life that went south.
Well, it could have been, man. That's the story of Sunny. And I hope if you're listening to this and you're struggling with addiction, then you'll check out and see, is there a mental health opportunity to help you get life back on track? I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today, and we'll see you next week right here on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
We appreciate all of you. Thanks very much. Tell a friend about our show. Join us every week. Conrad and I have been doing this for quite some time now. It's almost natural. So good job today, Connie. You pulled us through. Great job. And we'll see you next week, folks. Thanks very much for joining us.
See you next week, grillingjr.com.
Boomer Center.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-Free Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.